I remember the exact moment it happened. The CEO walked into the room with cameras behind him. Everyone stood up, clapping. I was at the back, near the vending machine, just trying to grab a coffee and get through the day. He was holding a check, one of those giant ones you only see in award shows or charity events. $1 million. He handed it to my boss, Greg. Greg smiled like he'd just cured cancer. They took photos. They shook hands. The whole office buzzed. And I stood there watching. No one looked at me. No one mentioned my name. I was the guy who built the damn thing. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 27 years old. And until that day, I still believed that hard work spoke for itself. The tool they were celebrating, the one that was going to save the company thousands of dollars every single week, I made it, in my apartment, on weekends, while skipping sleep, while skipping meals. Greg never wrote a single line of code, but there he was, in the spotlight, on company emails, getting congratulations, patted on the back by people who didn't even know what the tool did. I just stood there, clapping, pretending it didn't hurt, pretending I wasn't invisible. That was the day I learned how this world really works. I was broke. Not like college student broke. I mean real broke. Rent was late again. My phone had a cracked screen and a $73 balance I couldn't pay. I was living off cereal and instant noodles, trying to make it through one more week without asking anyone for help. Every morning felt the same. Wake up, hit snooze 3 times, wonder if this was really it. Then drag myself onto a packed train with dead eyes and bad coffee, all to get to a job that barely noticed I existed. I was a junior engineer at a mid-sized tech company, fancy title, Zero Power. I spent most of my days fixing broken code nobody wanted to deal with. Stuff that was passed down like a bad inheritance. No credit, no praise, just deadlines and bugs. But I kept showing up. Because somewhere in me, I still believed that if I worked hard enough, someone would notice. I thought maybe, just maybe, this was how it started. You grind in the shadows until someone pulls you into the light. I wasn't looking to be a millionaire. I just wanted to be seen, wanted to matter, wanted to feel like I wasn't wasting my life building someone else's dream while mine gathered dust. I'd walk past the senior engineers' offices, glass walls, good chairs, meetings with executives, and I'd imagine myself there. Not for the money, not even for the respect, just to prove that I wasn't crazy for believing I had something to offer. Sometimes late at night I'd open up my laptop and just build things. Little tools, scripts, automations, stuff no one asked for, stuff no one even knew about. I did it because it gave me a sense of control, like maybe I wasn't completely powerless, like maybe I was still moving forward, even if no one else could see it. I kept telling myself, just keep going, stay quiet, work hard, and eventually it'll pay off. That's what I believed. That's what they told us. But they never told us the whole truth. It didn't take long for me to realize how things worked in that company. It wasn't about who worked the hardest. It wasn't about who solved the most problems or stayed the latest or came up with the best ideas. It was about who talked the loudest in meetings, who had lunch with the right people, who nodded the most when the boss was speaking. There were these unwritten rules like never outshine your manager. Don't correct anyone above you even if they're wrong. Stay in your lane, keep your head down, smile when you're told to. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe I just needed to adjust. But the more I watched, the clearer it became. Greg, my boss, he had the game figured out. He wasn't the smartest guy in the room, not even close. But he knew how to say the right things to the right people. He showed up late, left early, and still got praised for being a visionary. I remember one meeting. A simple fix I made to a broken system saved us hours of manual work. Greg explained it to the room like it was his idea, didn't even flinch, just said, "We've implemented a new process to streamline this." No mention of me, no nod in my direction, nothing. I sat there in silence. Everyone nodded, impressed. That was the culture. Take credit, pass blame, climb higher. And if you were at the bottom like me, you weren't supposed to speak up. People noticed, but no one said anything. Some had families, mortgages, things to protect. Others just didn't care. They'd seen it happen a dozen times. It was just how it worked. You could be a genius in that place and still be invisible if you didn't play the game. And I didn't know how to play it. Or maybe I just didn't want to. But a part of me still held on to this stupid belief that if I did something big enough, something undeniable, they'd have to notice me. They'd have to give me credit. I just needed one chance, one shot to prove myself. And when that chance came, I thought I was ready. I wasn't. It started with a problem nobody wanted to touch. There was this system we used every day. Messy, outdated, full of errors. It slowed everything down. Everyone complained about it, but no one fixed it. It had become one of those things people just accepted, like office coffee or awkward small talk. But I couldn't let it go. Every time I ran into the same glitch, the same delay, the same stupid workaround, I thought, there has to be a better way. So one night after work I started building something. Just a small tool at first. Something to automate the most frustrating part. I didn't tell anyone, not even Greg. I didn't want anyone's opinion. I didn't want to hear, "That's not your job." I just wanted to see if I could make it work. I'd get home, throw my bag down, make some toast, and open my laptop. Hours would fly by. Some nights I forgot to eat. I'd fall asleep at my desk with code still running on the screen. I wasn't doing it for praise. I wasn't thinking about bonuses or promotions. I just wanted to fix something that everyone else had given up on. And then one day it worked. It didn't just work, it worked better than I expected. It cut down a process that used to take hours into minutes. It removed the errors, it cleaned up the mess. I ran it again. Same results. Again. Still worked. I couldn't believe it. For a moment, I just sat there staring at the screen, smiling like an idiot. It was the first time in a long time that I felt proud of something I made, like I actually mattered. I thought, this is it, this is the moment. They'll see what I can do now. They'll know I'm not just another guy fixing bugs in the background. I had no idea how wrong I was. I should have kept it to myself. But when something works that well, it's hard to stay quiet. I was excited, naive maybe, but I really thought I was doing the right thing. So I showed Greg. I waited until after lunch, caught him in his office, told him I wanted to show him something. He looked annoyed at first, like I was interrupting something important, but then I walked him through it, the tool, what it did, how it fixed the process. I even pulled up real-time numbers to show how much time and money it would save. He sat back in his chair, didn't say much, just nodded a few times, eyes scanning the screen like he was processing it. Then he leaned forward, smiled a little and said, "This is good. Really good." I felt a rush of relief, like maybe this was the moment I'd been working toward. Maybe he was going to help me get it in front of the right people. Maybe this was how it happened, the beginning of something real. He said, "Leave it with me. I'll talk to the higher-ups, get it moving. We'll present it together, all right?" Together. That one word stuck with me the whole rest of the day. I kept repeating it in my head. We'll present it together. I didn't ask for credit. I didn't even ask for a raise. I just wanted the chance to be in the room when they saw it. That felt like enough. I went home that night thinking, this could change everything. I was finally going to be seen. What I didn't know was that I had just handed over everything I'd built, and I'd never get it back. I found out by accident. I wasn't even supposed to be in the building that day. I'd taken the morning off to go to the dentist, but the appointment got cancelled, so I came in late. I walked past the conference room, and that's when I saw it. The glass doors were closed, but I could see everyone inside. Executives, team leads, even the CEO, and Greg, standing at the front, my laptop open, my tool on the screen. I stopped walking. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I didn't need to. I knew. He was presenting it, without me, without even telling me. My stomach dropped. I just stood there watching, frozen. People were nodding, smiling, taking notes. Someone clapped. Greg laughed. The CEO leaned forward like he was impressed. It was my work, line for line, every function, every shortcut. The same graphs I built, the same interface. He didn't even change the colors. I waited for him to mention my name, just once, a quick, "And Daniel built this," or "One of my engineers had the idea." Anything. But it never came. They gave him the full credit, all of it, and I wasn't even in the room. I walked back to my desk, sat down, and stared at my screen for almost an hour. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what to feel. Part of me wanted to storm in there and call him out. Another part of me just felt numb, like maybe this was normal. Maybe this was what always happens when you're at the bottom. After that day, everything felt different. I still showed up, still clocked in, fixed bugs, answered emails. On the surface, nothing had changed, but inside, everything had shifted. I started noticing things I used to ignore. The fake smiles, the way people played the game, how credit moved upward and blame rolled downhill. It was like I'd finally seen behind the curtain, and now I couldn't unsee it. Greg acted like nothing happened, like I should be grateful just to be in the same room as the tool I built. He'd call me into meetings and ask questions he already knew the answers to, just so it looked like he was involving me. Just enough to keep me quiet, not enough to matter. And everyone else? They just followed his lead. Nobody asked where the tool came from. Nobody questioned the story. They just accepted it. Greg, the genius behind the new system. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter, that maybe it was fine as long as the tool helped people, as long as the company benefited. But the lie kept eating at me. Late at night, I'd lie in bed thinking about it, replaying the meeting I never got to be part of, wondering if there was something I could have done differently, if I was stupid to trust him. And the worst part? I still wanted their approval. Even after everything, I still caught myself hoping someone would notice, hoping someone would say, "Wait, didn't Daniel make that?" But no one ever did. And that silence, it said everything. That day, something changed in me. It was the first time I really understood what it meant to be invisible. After that day, everything felt different. I still showed up, still clocked in, fixed bugs, answered emails. On the surface, nothing had changed, but inside, everything had shifted. I started noticing things I used to ignore. The fake smiles, the way people played the game, how credit moved upward and blame rolled downhill. It was like I'd finally seen behind the curtain, and now I couldn't unsee it. Greg acted like nothing happened, like I should be grateful just to be in the same room as the tool I built. He'd call me into meetings and ask questions he already knew the answers to, just so it looked like he was involving me, just enough to keep me quiet, not enough to matter. And everyone else, they just followed his lead. Nobody asked where the tool came from. Nobody questioned the story. They just accepted it. Greg, the genius behind the new system. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter, that maybe it was fine as long as the tool helped people, as long as the company benefited. But the lie kept eating at me. Late at night, I'd lie in bed thinking about it, replaying the meeting I never got to be part of, wondering if there was something I could have done differently, if I was stupid to trust him. And the worst part? I still wanted their approval. Even after everything, I still caught myself hoping someone would notice, hoping someone would say, "Wait, didn't Daniel make that?" But no one ever did. And that silence, it said everything. It wasn't just about the tool anymore. It was about what it represented. I had poured months of my life into something real, something that worked, something that made a difference. And now it was like I didn't exist. That kind of thing doesn't just go away. It sits with you, follows you. You start to question everything. I stopped sharing ideas, stopped speaking up in meetings. What was the point? Anything I said could just be repackaged and delivered without me. Greg kept climbing. He was in more meetings, got invited to leadership events, even started talking about expanding the tool, maybe building a whole platform around it. I watched him talk like he understood the code, like it came from him. He was confident, smooth. He knew how to sell it. And me? I was still fixing broken features on apps no one cared about. People started treating him differently. They called him the innovator, gave him this label like he was a visionary. It made me sick. But I didn't say anything, because I knew how this worked now. If I pushed back, I'd be labeled difficult. If I tried to take credit, I'd look bitter. So I swallowed it. All of it. Every fake smile. Every time someone congratulated him right in front of me. Every moment that reminded me I had given something valuable to a man who saw me as disposable. And the worst part? I still needed the job. I still needed the paycheck. So I kept showing up, day after day, pretending I didn't care. But something in me had changed. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was waiting. Then came the bonus. $1 million. That's what they gave him. It was all over the office. Whispers in the break room, Slack messages flying around. Someone even printed the internal announcement and taped it to the kitchen door. Greg awarded innovation bonus for streamlining operations. Innovation. That word hit me like a punch. He got a check with 6 zeros. I got a nod in the hallway, if that. I sat at my desk reading the announcement over and over again, not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. This was real. He took what I built, sold it as his own, and they paid him like a hero. People started treating him differently. Louder applause in meetings, bigger smiles when he walked by, like he was some kind of savior. And me, still the same desk, same tasks, same pay, not a single email, not one word of recognition, nothing. I kept my head down, tried to work, tried to ignore the noise, but it was impossible. You don't just forget something like that. You don't just move on. That day, I realized something important. This place wasn't broken, it was built like this, built to reward the ones who take credit, not the ones who do the work. And maybe the only way to survive it was to stop pretending I didn't know how the game was played. I remember sitting at my desk that afternoon, watching people congratulate Greg like he'd just won the lottery. I wanted to say something, anything. But the words stuck in my throat. I thought about going to HR, about telling the CEO the truth. But what would that have done? I wasn't important enough for them to listen. I was just the junior engineer who fixed problems no one noticed. Besides, Greg wasn't stupid. He knew how to cover his tracks. He had the right connections. He had the perfect story ready to go. I realized then that this wasn't just about one tool or one bonus. It was about power, about who controls the narrative. They could erase me with a smile and a handshake, and no one would blink. I felt invisible, but I also felt something else, a quiet fire, because I knew the truth. And even if they didn't see me, I saw myself. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to disappear, not anymore. I started thinking about what I really wanted. Was it just about getting credit, about the money, or was it something deeper? I realized I didn't want their approval. I didn't want to be part of their game. I wanted respect, real respect. Not the kind that comes from a title or a bonus. The kind that comes from being seen for who you are and what you actually do. But how do you get that when the system is stacked against you? When the people in power rewrite the story every time you try to tell it? I didn't have an answer. All I knew was I couldn't stay silent forever. I couldn't keep letting my work vanish while someone else took the spotlight. Something had to change, and that something had to start with me. So I began to plan. Not a revenge plan, not a scheme, a way to take back control, to make sure my voice was heard, to make sure I wasn't invisible anymore. I knew it wouldn't be easy. I wasn't some genius with a plan to take down the whole system. I was just a guy who wanted to be acknowledged, but sometimes that's enough. I started small. I documented everything, every line of code, every idea, every late night. I saved emails, screenshots, even little notes I'd written to myself. I talked to a few trusted co-workers, quietly, people who had seen the same things I had, people who understood what it meant to be overlooked. I realized I wasn't alone. There were others like me, quiet, hard-working, invisible. And together, maybe we could make noise loud enough to be heard. I began looking for ways to share the truth without burning bridges, because I wasn't interested in tearing anyone down. I just wanted to stand up for myself, to take back what was mine. And maybe, just maybe, to change the game for the next person who got lost in the shadows. I never thought it would come to this, but sometimes you reach a point where you have no choice. I decided to speak up, not in a big dramatic way, not in front of the whole company, just quietly, carefully, to the people who needed to know. I sent emails, I scheduled meetings. I showed the evidence. It wasn't easy. I felt like I was walking on thin ice. There were moments when I thought I'd be ignored, or worse, fired. But I kept going. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about standing up to the unfairness. About making sure no one else had to go through what I did. I wasn't just fighting for credit. I was fighting for respect, for truth, and for the chance to finally be seen. I was nervous. More nervous than I'd ever been at work before. Because this time I wasn't just fixing bugs or writing code in the background. This time I was putting myself out there. I walked into the meeting room with my laptop and a folder full of everything I'd collected, emails, screenshots, notes. I looked around the table at the people who held the power to change things. I told my story. Not with anger, not with bitterness, just the facts. I showed them the tool, how it worked, and how it saved the company thousands every week. I explained how Greg had taken credit, how he'd been rewarded, and how I had been left invisible. There were a few silent moments. Some looked surprised. Others didn't say much at all, but I didn't back down. Because for the first time I was claiming what was mine. And no one could take that away. It wasn't an instant victory. No one stood up and cheered. No one handed me a giant bonus check. What I got was harder. Quiet respect. A few nods in meetings. A few colleagues who finally looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't know." The company started asking questions. They wanted to understand how the tool really came to be. Greg's story began to unravel piece by piece. It wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. And sometimes truth takes time. But slowly, things shifted. I was invited to present my work, to lead new projects. Not because I demanded it, but because I proved I deserved it. And that felt different, real. For the first time, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was seen. And that made all the difference. It made me think about what really matters. Is it the money, the recognition, the title, or is it something deeper? For me, it became about knowing my worth, about trusting myself enough to keep creating, even when no one was watching. I realized that validation from others is nice, but it's not everything. What matters most is how you see yourself. I still have tough days, days when the old feelings creep back in. But now, I carry a quiet confidence. Because I know what I built. I know the value I bring. And no one can take that away. Sometimes the biggest battles aren't with others. They're with ourselves. And winning those is the real victory. Looking back, I realized this experience changed me. It wasn't just about one stolen idea or one missed opportunity. It was a lesson about standing up for yourself, even when it feels like no one's listening. It taught me to be careful about who I trust, but also to keep trusting myself. Because the world isn't always fair. Sometimes the people who do the work get left behind. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can find your own voice. You can make your own path. And you can make sure your work, your effort, is never invisible again. That's what I hold on to now. Not the pain, not the anger, but the strength I found when I decided to stand up. And that strength is mine. No one can take that away. Now, I'm not saying everything is perfect. There are still challenges, days when I wonder if it's worth it. But I've learned something important. You don't have to let others define your value. You don't have to wait for someone else to recognize your worth. You can create your own opportunities. You can build your own path forward. And sometimes, that means walking away from what no longer serves you. For me, this story isn't just about a stolen invention or a missed bonus. It's about finding my voice, about knowing that no matter what happens, I'm more than what others say I am. And that's a lesson worth sharing. Because if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. Never let anyone make you feel invisible. Your work matters. Your voice matters. And you deserve to be seen. I never expected that moment of betrayal to lead me here. After everything, I took what I built, the tool, the ideas, the late nights, and I started something new. I built my own company. It wasn't easy, far from it. But this time, I set the rules. A place where fairness wasn't just a word, but a way of life. where innovation wasn't stolen but celebrated, no matter who came up with it. I wanted to create a culture where people like me didn't have to fight just to be seen, where hard work was recognized and voices were heard. Looking back, that betrayal was a fire. It burned away the illusions I had about loyalty and credit, but it also lit a path forward. It taught me what real recognition means, not just a paycheck or a title, but respect and honesty. And if there's one thing I want anyone listening to know, it's this: don't let silence bury your worth. Speak up, stand tall, because your work, your ideas, your voice, they matter more than you realize, and sometimes the hardest moments become the foundation for something greater. This is the end of my story. Thank you for watching, and if you like this kind of content, kindly leave us a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thank you.